Welcome back to the Sideline Report. Marvin Jackson here, and I'm just having some fun with Marc Harrison and Barry Barnes. Bad news, Barnes.
That's right.
He only had a little bit of bad news earlier in the show, but I'm sure he has some more for us.
Yes, I do. This
is our Turkey Day show. It's Thanksgiving time, and I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And for you, Mark, you got to be an MC at the Turkey Bowl luncheon in D.C., right?
Yeah, absolutely. The DCIAA 52nd Annual Turkey Bowl Classic that will take place at Eastern High School on Thanksgiving Day, 11 a.m. I was blessed to be the MC to, welcome the teams and they had a luncheon. Roosevelt High School versus Dunbar High School, two storied programs. Roosevelt, can they win 2 in a row? Dunbar, can they win 2 out of the last 3? It's going to be a great day. The sun's going to be out.
Strong teams.
DC is going to come out. You know how DC gets on Thanksgiving. Everybody coming home. So you're going to smell the barbecue and the mumbo all over the place. It's going to be a great day of football in DC.
DC football has a lot of history, good rivalries. And that sounds like a good one with Dunbar and Roosevelt. I know Roosevelt's been playing so well.
They're calling it
Dunbar has always had good programs. So I know that's
they're calling it an uptown party. So the uptown the Gravy Bowl, Coolidge beat Bell. That was 2 uptown teams, and now here we go, Roosevelt versus Dunbar. Pretty much 2 more uptown teams. So DC is happy.
How did my Baloo Knights do this year? They weren't as good this year.
They didn't finish last.
Okay. Yeah, they used to have some.
They got a young coach. Coach Brown is doing a great job. He's going to get his guys in there. He's changing the culture of that program. That program's going to be.
That's awesome.
They were in every game. They're right there.
Okay, great.
So go.
Now let's talk
Knights.
about this. The Baltimore Ravens. Let's get back to the NFL. The Ravens are doing well, and led by Lamar Jackson. Talk about this team and what is it about this team other than Lamar? Because there have to be some other guys. I don't know too many Pro Bowlers on that team, but there have to be some other guys that are making a difference with the Ravens.
Well, when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, it always starts with the defense. And when you look at that defense, you look at your Calais Campbells of the world. He's definitely, a leader in that locker room. And then your Patrick Queen, who's actually leading the team in tackles. But, what Roquan Smith, with him coming there, being that late trade from the Chicago Bears, that right there can be pretty much a difference maker. We know that, with their back end, we know that it's one of those situations where the back end is still with Humphreys. Those guys are still really starting to come together and start piecing things together right at the right time. But with Smith, with him coming late with the Ravens at this point in time, right before the Ravens really get into that divisional games, this is where it can be more of a difference maker for the Ravens, knowing they have someone that type of talent on that defensive line merged with the talent they already have. So if you have these players there, these guys on the defense side of the ball, is definitely one of the things that will not be a surprise, because unlike the Commanders, the Ravens are expected to get to the postseason. So the regular season is really not the test for the Baltimore Ravens. Their test really begins getting into when they get to the postseason. That's when things started to really wrap up, for us with the Baltimore Ravens. So where they are right now, 4-game winning streak, this is not something that was, I would say, a surprise. This is something that we was waiting for the Ravens to get into the month of December to set themselves up for the postseason. But they do have some talented players there that have been there, and then with Pierre Paul, some legendary players that's getting there that have experience of winning, which is also a key component for the Ravens' success of late.
That defense is strong, but for Lamar, isn't it important Mark Andrews is in there at tight end?
Yes. If Mark Andrews is pretty much, I would say, on the offense side is very important, because that's who Lamar Jackson rely on. For some reason, teams around this league cannot stop that deep cross pass play. They go to Mark Andrews every single game. And although Mark Andrews was banged up midway through the season, he have to get back and being acclimated. He have not been himself the last couple of weeks. And during this stretch, especially with this divisional games they have coming up, they really going to need more from him, because if he's at 100% and he's being that big time player that the Ravens used to him, he can all of a sudden be more of a decoy, so to speak, to open up things for several of their young receivers that they have there, so that these guys can actually get to that certain point where they can actually be a little bit more balanced. And like I said on the last show, the Ravens know their identity. They know that they're a running team, but they have to figure out a way to get the ball out Lamar Jackson's hands as a runner, because if they're looking for some success in the postseason, they will not get it done with just Lamar just using his legs alone.
All right, and let's switch over to the NFC and the Washington Commanders. Big games coming up. Atlanta just had a big victory this past week, and I'm sure they want to put some good wins together. And they're coming into Washington to play the Commanders. What are the key matchups there? I mean, the Washington Commanders defense can stop the run. I mean, we all know that. And that's what Atlanta seems to do pretty well, right? Even the quarterback is more of a running quarterback. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, well, Atlanta, it depends on which Marcus Mariota shows up when they land in DC at Reagan National. If the Marcus Mariota that week shows up here, the defense is going to be in a bind. And, when you have a great defense, the best thing to do is to start putting players in binds, put the defensive ends in binds with the RPOs or the option plays, if they're sitting in certain defenses, put certain people on the island and go with your best matchups. So it depends on if Marcus Mariota shows up here and is showing us the Heisman Trophy winner that he was, or is he going to be the guy that, has bounced around the league? You got the rising of Cordell Patterson. Swiss Army knife. That guy, he started his career with Minnesota, but since he's been in Atlanta, he'll be a running back. He'll be a punt returner, a kick returner, a receiver, a wildcat quarterback. He's all over the place. And I'm telling you, they will, open up the playbook to try to find a chink in the armor of this Washington Commanders defense, because they're showing that they're trouble right now. It's just going to be very difficult for Atlanta to come in here and get a win. Most teams that travel from down south and they're a dome team, even though the weather is supposed to be maybe, I think, rainy this weekend as well. So you're talking about slowing down. They have some fast kids. They have the reemergence of a Damiere Byrd, wide receiver with the Falcons. He's doing very well. Another track guy that was, South Carolina product and bounced around the league. But when you're fast, you can keep a job in the NFL. So, depending on the offense that Atlanta brings and they pack with them, that's going to be the difference in the game. But, the Commanders are playing lights out defense. Let's just be honest. On all levels. Even the surprising linebacker play that's going with the I hate to say surprising, but last year they were very highly criticized by us on this show. But I mean, they are playing well. So if you can, if Atlanta can find a way to exploit one of the levels, they're not going to dominate the D-line. They're not going to dominate the secondary. The linebackers are playing well now. So if anything, it's a chink in the armor. They may try to find some mid-level routes to get the ball to these receivers, the 8 to 10-yard range behind the linebackers, or some drag routes, underneath the linebackers. I mean, like I said, I venture to guess that there's going to be a lot of RPOs with Marcus Mariota, because you can't account for the quarterback. The defense has responsibilities and gap responsibilities, and linebackers have holes to fill. But when you're dealing with a quarterback like Marcus Mariota, you're going to have to account for him, because if he gets confidence early, we could be in trouble.
Yeah, let's talk about the Giants games that are coming up. Barry, how will Washington do against the Giants? I have a feeling they're going to do pretty well against the Giants. I don't think the Giants are going to stay where they are once they play Washington twice, and I think they've got to play. Do they play Philly one more time? I believe.
No.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they've already okay. But I just have a feeling Washington will do well. How about quickly talking about Washington and New York?
Well, when you look at divisional games, it can go either way, because they're familiar with each other. And I would say that what's going to be a little different compared to the Giants all season, who they already know who's going to be their starting quarterback. with Taylor Heineke finally now being named as the starter, things are going to be a little different. It's going to be a mental shift, so to speak, because at first, before the great win they had in Houston, coming in, filling in for Carson Wentz, now he's being labeled as the starting quarterback. So now instead of him having to worry about the head coach implementing the plan, the opposing team head coach implementing the plan, now they got to worry about your defensive back coaches. You got your linebackers coaches. You have all these coaches now that's going to game plan for Washington because they know who they're going to deal with Washington. So this is going to be a real mental shift for everybody with the Commanders because everything changes now because everyone knows who going to line up against them when they face the Commanders. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle that part first because this is the mental part of the game, of the season. Everything's about tendencies. I do not think that it's going to be an easy matchup going up against the Giants, knowing they're going to play the Giants. They're going to pretty much play the Giants in New York, take a bye, and then come back and face them in Washington. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's really going to be one of those situations to see how they're going to handle because the Giants, they know who they are. They know that Saquon Barkley, that's going to be their guy. They know they're going to run the ball. And they pretty much at the same time play situational football. They're not going to stretch themselves out to try to be something that they are not. So when you think about the original games, I really do not see this being a cakewalk for the Commanders nor for the Giants. But it's going to be one of those situations in both those matchups. Who will not make the bad mistake late in the game? Who's going to actually take advantage of that opportunity? Because in December, when we look at the NFC East, no matter how good or how bad this division is, it always comes down to the month of December. And that's when you see these teams all of a sudden starting to really show who they truly are and who's going to take advantage of those mistakes. And both these teams will make their mistakes. It's going to be up to the team that's going to make sure they actually make the right decision off that mistakes.
All right, well, let's talk about some local high school football before we go. First, we want to say happy birthday to Donna Hopkins, who's not with us today. But she's having a good time. She's having dinner with her family, and we want to say happy birthday to her.
Better be partying if you missed the show.
Want to ask you guys, it's Turkey Day also coming up, and what do you guys think? What do you like the most? Is it pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie? Which do you prefer, Mark?
Man, look, we in Prince George's County, brother. I need me my sweet potato pie.
Gotta be sweet potato. What about you, Barry?
Hey, listen, I had to get my card checked if I did not go with sweet potato pie.
All right. Well, I'm gonna tell you guys, I love pumpkin pie, but with you guys, I'm sweet potato pie all day today.
We gotta look at your fantasy, Mom.
We gotta get you the right sweet potato pie.
For real. Exactly.
I know, man. I get talked about a lot. Hey, Mark, talk to us real quick. We got about a minute to talk about the Wise and Flowers upcoming game this weekend.
Rumble in the jungle, baby. Everything comes through the jungle. I'm gonna try to remain as unbiased as possible because I'm a Jaguar parent. I am a Jaguar parent of a quarterback, okay, and an athlete for the CH Flowers Jaguars. This is the rematch that everybody's been looking for. I'm gonna give you guys a quick synopsis. We
only got about 30 seconds.
Gotcha. They opened the ticket sales, and less than an hour later, they had to shut down the site because they were buying up tickets 50 and 100 at a time. This game is wanted to be seen by everybody. It's the Wise Pumas, who's been to 6 of the last 8 state championships, versus the up-and-coming CH Flowers Jaguars, who beat Wise for the first time since 2009 at Wise earlier this season in October. Now they have to, and with Flowers being the number 1 seed in 4A for Maryland, now Wise has to come to play us to see who goes to the state championship. So I'm trying to remain biased because I'm good friends with the head coach and the family and the coaches at Wise. But I'm a Jaguar parent. If I had a Jaguar hat, I would have put it on. But go Jags. Let's just hope it's a great atmosphere. It's a great thing for the county to see. High-level football at its finest.
Real quick, let me just give a shout out to St. Francis Academy because That team, although they lost to IMG last week, they ranked 13 in the country. That's the only team in Baltimore City. That's actually the best team in Baltimore City that do not get no coverage whatsoever. Definitely want to give them their props on a great season for this year.
Bad news, Barry Bonds bringing us some good news from Baltimore. All right, thanks, guys. Mark, great having you on. And, of course, Bad News Barnes, always. All right, you guys have a great Turkey Day and enjoy the weekend. So everybody get out and see Wise and Flowers, too. So for the Sideline Report, Marvin Jackson, we'll see you next week on the Sideline Report. Take care, everybody.